Hi students, everyone. So today Ashish sir is there to introduce us. Ashish sir is educated in Bachelor in Polymer Chemistry, and he have completed PGDP from 17 batch IIP Mumbai. He is working as procurement leader for direct material. So Ashish sir is having work experience of around 17 years, and he is current now working in Basalt near East region, and he has past experience of Dr. Reddy's, Bharat Serum, Abbott India, ITC Personal Care, Nivea.
We're starting the presentation. Welcome to this webinar for to all the 34th batch team. Okay, and as already as I told that I'm working with Biasdorf and as a procurement lead. So I am a packaging technologist, but I am doing procurement since last around 10 years, 10, 11 years. Because earlier I was in packaging and then I have done my procurement activity.
Yes.
So, guys, all the team, I am just going to talk about today the costing of packaging material, which is very, very essential for a packaging technologist to understand because whenever you guys are the first and foremost part which company will ask you what is the cost of the packaging, and during define the cost of the packaging you have to know that how to do the costing of the packaging material. So today the topic what I will take to you guys is first of all the overview of costing, which is giving about what is costing, what is the background of costing, what is the aim of costing, and all what is the output of costing, all these things. We are going to talk about basic knowledge for costing of packaging material. That is, should you keep in mind from your studies to do the costing, and then we will talk about costing parameters which is impacting the costing, and then we will go for material wise costing for 5 materials regarding corrugated box, rigid plastics, laminate, cartons and tube, and this will cover maximum of your ideas of costing, and from basis of this 5 type of costing you can do any costings of the packaging, flexible and board type of materials. That means majority, I can say 80-90% of your packaging materials you can do the costings. Now we will go for the overview of costing. The costing is actually a system of process. It is the process which decides the buying price or the selling price of of any material. So the father of costing is known as Luca Pacioli, who was the father of accountant, and he has invented the cost accounting part. From there, he has first explained what is costing about. The aim of costing is to break down the structure of any material, which means if you have a packaging is a multiple, can be a multiple layer raw materials, or it can be a single raw material based packaging also. So the aim is to do the breakdown of these materials and then check the individual items against the standard cost available in the market, so that we can identify whether the cost whatever has been proposed or what are we going to propose is correct. There are 2 type of costing method. One is continuous operation costing, another is specific order costing. Continuous operation costing means if you are buying a material year on year, then the costing model will be different, because in that case there are some molds or there are some plates or there are some cylinders gets developed, which the cost has to be amortized in the whole material, maybe the yearly procurement quantity, so that the cost can come down of the amortization. And there are specific order costing also. Sometimes the company needs some promotional activity where they need some packaging, and that is only for one time. At that time the company may ask that I need, suppose, cost of 2 lakh cartons to be developed. That will be a specific order costing, and that type of costing changes the costing model. The result of costing comes in a different way. So you people cannot say only the costing can give you profit or the costing can give you the understanding about the material. It can give you profit. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You are audible.
It can give you the profit, it can give you the savings, it can also give the go no go decisions to the company about launching the product, and also it can give you the supplier selection. Maybe different supplier is giving you different type of cost, so you can decide which supplier you should go by, make do a exact costing of your packaging materials. And also it can decide the value engineering to be done in the cost packaging or not. That means whether you have to reduce the specifications grammage, or you have to reduce the number of colors so that it can give the benefit to the packaging material, and it can go to give the benefit of go no go decisions of the product. So these are the results of the total costing model. The basic knowledge for costing of packaging material we are talking about, the first knowledge we should have, that is called measurement, which we already have came across in our semester 1, semester 2, semester 3. In all these semesters we have seen the packaging material, how design and development are going on. I have kept here a picture of carton. If you can see why this carton I have kept, if it is a reverse tuck-in type carton, that means in this case the design is such that if I put one carton over the other, I can utilize the board properly. So in that case, the design will be very important. The measurement also will be important. Here in the carton, you cannot avoid the gap
Created with free version for non-commercial use.
Gap or the joint flap during the costing of discussion of your costing, because this joint flap is also coming inside the board area. So, and also that you have to take a square area when you are doing a bottom lock bottom type carton costing. There the carton board consumption is more, so there you have to take the whole square area of the carton. Don't take the curved area, that take the curve area as a total whole square. In case of laminate or film roll, it is much easier because we are calculating it is the things based on length and width based. And there are lamitube also. This lamitube, we have a diameter, we have a shoulder, the lamitube or coax tube you can talk about, where we have we have three parts, where it is
Created with
coming
free
as a
version for
body,
non-commercial
as a
use.
shoulder, and as a neck, where the body is actually a sleeve, where we have to see where the eye mark will be there, what is the distance, and we have to cut the lamitube or coax tube first during the costing to make it as a square or rectangle area to do the costing first. That is our point. And also the second part, the next part, what we have to see is the grammage. Grammage is very important. Like I have given here an example. I know you people are already knowing this, but still we can reiterate before we go to the costing of individual models. So it helps to achieve the weight of the material, like a craft paper of 50-meter roll of 2-meter width. How it is going to have a 50, maybe it is having a 150 GSM craft paper. So how we can design the how we can get the weight of the paper? It is area into GSM, you
Created
all
with free
know.
version
So
for
the area
non-commercial
may be
use.
50 meter into 2 meter, which is 100 meter square, into 150 it is 15,000 gram, which is 15 kg. So the roll we are defining, okay, now the paper is 15 kg, and then we can decide, we can go to market and identify what is the cost of the craft paper. Currently craft paper cost is going little high, and now it is around 30-31 for 150 gram and 20 bf. So this please note that in case of craft paper, it gets sold in gram, GSM and BF. So one you burst factor. So once you to go to buy the craft paper, you have to mention what is the burst factor you are talking about, because burst factor plays an important role in case of craft paper to decide the rate. Now we will talk about the thickness. thickness of any packaging material is actually required to achieve the GSM of the material. And again, that GSM you can
Created with
convert it
free
into
version for
kg or
non-commercial
gram
use.
from the above by the above method. So the thickness, there is a formula. Like if you have a thickness in micron, then this micron you have to thickness into density, you can get a grammage. That is a formula. So if you have a PET film has around 1.4 or 1.3 density, and for aluminum foil 2.74 density. So density into the thickness, you thickness in micron always keep in mind. So you have, if you have any thickness in gauge, you have to convert it in micron, and then you have to multiply with it by density. So this is the way we can go to identify the GSM, and then from the GSM, by area calculation of the material, we can go to the weight of the material. Molds. Yeah, any question if you have
Created
at
with
this
free
point,
version
you
for
can ask.
non-commercial use.
One or two
Sir,
questions I
sir,
can
can you
take.
hide the stop sharing icon?
I'll just hide it.
Thank you, sir.
So maybe you have not seen the earlier slide. See the PET film, 12 micron PET film, it is having 1.38 or 1.4 density. So it is giving a GSM is thickness into density. It is 16.56 is the GSM. Like the same way PE film has 0.92 density, 50 micron PE film. Generally, please remember PE film comes in a gauge. Whenever people are talking about PE film, they talk about gauge. So you have to convert the gauge to micron, and then micron multiplied with the density, you will get the GSM. These are the basic knowledge. Please keep in mind while you are going to sit for the first interview. Sometimes people ask you this type of questions. Now
Created
I
with
am
free
talking
version for
about mold
non-commercial use.
cycle time, which you have learned in your subject in plastics. This mold cycle time helps to calculate the output of a rigid plastics. Please keep in mind, based on the packaging material output per day. In general, for all injection molded and blow molded packaging materials, this mold cycle time comes into place. What is mold cycle time? It is, I have written in a small way. It is actually a fill time plus pack time plus cooling time and then mold opening time. This total entire activity called cycle time. So the time mold is open and it is closing, and again it is opening and coming to its original position. This entire time called as a cycle time. So therefore the formula to be followed to calculate a material output per day will be 60 into 60, which is 360, 3600 second,
Created
into
with free version for
22.
non-commercial
22
use.
is actually the hours per day generally gets calculated, because 2 hours is a tiffin time for the employees, so that generally gets cut in the industrial practice. Always we say that if the company is running 24 hours, that means 22 hours is the effective time of production. So 22 into 3600 is the total second it's coming, divided by mold cycle time is giving the output from one cavity, and then you have to multiply that with number of cavity, you will get the entire day's production. This is the way we have to calculate in case of injection molding or blow molding items. We calculate the output. Now there is another point for paper, maybe for it is maximum for corrugated box or e-fluted boards, which is printed board, where we generally calculate. It is called take-up
Created with free
factor.
version for
It helps to
non-commercial use.
calculate the paper weight of a fluting medium during the costing. Corrugated board has A, B, C, E, P. There are different type of fluting mediums available. So generally in market, we are working with B flute and C flute, these combinations, or only B flute. So this is the take-up factor. The take-up factor means if a corrugated board is having over 10 by 10 centimeter, then the middle layer is having 10 centimeter into 1.32. That is the length of the paper. So the middle layer is having more paper. So we have to calculate the same, the way I will explain it more when I will talk about the corrugated calculations, corrugated board calculations. Now I'll talk about the parameters which is impacting the costing. The first and foremost parameter is raw material. Raw material of a packaging material means
Created with
all
free
the
version for
you have to
non-commercial
you have to
use.
think what the packaging material you are going to design. If it is a carton, whether it's a corrugated board, plastic bottle caps, co-extruded tube, laminates, what are the things? Then you have to what I told earlier, you have to just I can say separate the materials. What is the materials? Like a carton is going to prepare with a board, then with the ink and varnish, then glue, then these all things. Then if it is a laminated carton, then there is a PET film. If it is having a UV varnish carton, then it will have a UV varnish. So those are all the raw materials for a carton. For a corrugated box, it is very simple. It is having craft paper, starch, and staple pin. Sometimes it have a printing ink, but printing ink is very minimum ink, and that doesn't get calculated in the industrial practice. Now, when we talk about plastic bottles and caps, the major raw material comes into it as a resin and master batch. In coax tube also, resin,
Created with
EVOH,
free
master
version for
batch, ink.
non-commercial
These
use.
are the part. And laminate, all that PET film, PET, alum foil, polyethylene, ink, adhesive, that is dry adhesive or wet adhesive, whatever it is, they are there as a raw material. So when you are going to do the costing, you should know before what is the cost of this raw material, very clear. You have a right to ask all your suppliers, all your converters, what is the cost of a board, what is the cost of a ink, what is the cost of a varnish, and they are bound to give you the answer. And this is your right. I first and foremost keep it in your mind. A packaging technologist have a right to know individual raw material cost, and you should ask your manufacturer first what is the cost of these individual items to do the calculations. The second point is processing. Processing means the processing cost.
Created with free
Like
version for
when I
non-commercial
am
use.
processing a corrugated board, or when I am processing a laminate, I have to run it in a machine. I have to put some manpowers. I have to put lot of lights because the whole day, night it is going to work. I have to put my entire admin cost. So all these costs come into it. Now, if my processing goes, if I go for a multiple processing way, like if I am having a semi-automatic corrugated box manufacturer where they are doing the corrugations in one machine, and they are doing the cutting and punching in other machine, and then they are doing a stapling of the boxes in third machine. So these processings are three type of processings. The same way, if I am having a tube manufacturer like coax tube, where the sleeves are getting manufactured in one machine, and then the shoulder getting manufactured
Created
in
with
other
free
machine,
version
where
for
it is getting
non-commercial use.
sealed with the sleeve, and then the tubes are having the capping machines, and then it is going to give a finished product. Then these processing steps are going to be changed. So always better to identify a supplier where the entire process completed in a single run. It is available. It is please keep in mind, in this case, when you are going to identify a supplier who is having a single run machine, he will charge you more as a processing cost, but it is better to have a single run, because ultimately the major output or the final output is going to have a lesser cost anyhow. The third parameter we are going to talk about wastage. There are different stage where the wastage gets generated. So when you are going to prepare the raw material, there are some raw wastage happens while you open the plastic
Created with
granule
free
bag,
version for
some
non-commercial
material
use.
gets as a waste. When you are going to do a machine setup, in case of in a printing machine, their waste gets generated. When you are doing a in process correction, suppose you in a printing machine you see printing ink is having a ghost effect, or it is having a image which is getting blurred during the process run, and the correction is happening at that time. You have the printer has to stop the line and he has to do the correction. There the wastage again gets generated. Process changeover, when one process is some company is having a run, maybe your company is only one company is going, say Unilever is going to run a job, say Rexona, and then they are going to run Sunsilk. So if these two types of laminates has to get run, or sleeve has to get run in a machine, then one changeover has to happen. At that
Created with
changeover,
free
some
version for
waste again
non-commercial
has to
use.
generate, because you have to start the machine, you have to throw the waste of the ink trays and all. So all these waste come into consideration. Quarantine waste. Quarantine means not our quarantine. Please it is a semi-finished goods quarantine. When there is a half-finished material is lying in your factory, like in the factory, like a board got printed but not yet punched or glued in and formed in a carton. It is just a board. Then there could be a dust accumulation on the board. There could be a handling waste can happen, that the board got crushed, the part of the board got torn up. So there are wastage could have generated in this way. But this final wastage percentage can be decided based on negotiation, which is a separate topic we can take later on anytime. So negotiation is a entirely
Created with
separate
free version for
topic, how to
non-commercial use.
negotiate, what are the ways of negotiations. That part plays a very important role when you are going to finalize a wastage of your material. Packing is the cost of packaging material which packs your finished good. That means the label, carton, bottle. It comes the like labels comes in a roll form, which maybe in a which will have a core inside, which will have a paper or which will have a sleeve which will cover that roll to avoid any transit damage. These all packing cost or packaging material costs comes into considerations. And like I will give example, I've given packing of a final packaging material is a corrugated box, and packing of final packaging material in an individual poly bag, and then in a corrugated box, this, and then in a palletized way. This changes the costing parameters or the costing
Created with
output.
free version for non-commercial use.
The important and the most important after the raw material cost is the conversion cost. Conversion costs are two types. Conversion cost comes in a two-way. One is fixed cost, another is variable cost. Now, in the fixed cost comes as an asset cost, overhead cost, and land rent. Now, whenever you people are going to do an asset cost, you people will not do it. It is a very procurement activity, but you should know what is an asset cost. Asset cost is a machine cost minus salvage value divided by useful life of the asset in a years, divided by number of output per year. So let me explain you what is this in a small way. Suppose you bought there is a machine in a value of 1 lakh, and when I will sell the
Created with free
machine
version for
after
non-commercial
5
use.
years, I will get maybe 20,000 back. So my asset value is machine cost minus salvage value, which is 1 lakh minus 20,000 is 80,000. And my machine is going to run for 5 years. So 80,000 divided by 5, which is going to give my total asset cost. So that asset cost, and from this 5 year out 5 year, I am going to produce say 5 crores of caps from this machine. Then if I divided this total cost with the 5 crores, that is my asset cost per packaging material wise. I hope this gives you an idea. Now, overhead cost is a very hidden cost, and or it is, I can say, it's a gray area. Land rent also a gray area. The vendor will not disclose all these things to you. This you have to keep an assumptions with you, and that is also based on negotiations.
Created
So
with
these
free
are the
version for
area where we
non-commercial
generally
use.
do the negotiation with the supplier. Variable cost comes in a electricity cost, maintenance cost, and miscellaneous. Now, electricity, maintenance, miscellaneous cost generally comes into a part where there are other activities, maybe governmental tax and all these things comes into the role. So that part also comes into considerations. Now I will talk about material-wise costing model. The corrugated box with a double staple pin in 40 distance. Now, corrugated box I have, which is a 5-ply corrugated box. Maybe I have taken. Yes, 5-ply corrugated box I have taken, and this corrugated box have a length, width, and height 200, 100, and 150. And
Created
this
with free version
150
for
height wise,
non-commercial
I
use.
have double staple pin, means 2 staple pin at one place, and at the with a 40 distance. So the total staple pin will be coming around 150 divided by 40, which means total 6 staple pin we may get into. So the length, board size, what I will do, I have added 200 is the length. 5 I have added 5 is the crease length. I have to talk about why when we are creasing a corrugated board, then we have to consider 5 is taking there or going inside that crease. Then again 100 is the width. Then 5 we have to add. Like this, we have to add till the end. I have added 40. This 40 is the joint flap width we have to add. So I told you at the beginning that you should not forget the joint flap. This is because this also gives the total calculations.
Created with
The
free
width
version
of
for
the board we have
non-commercial
taken
use.
50, because the height, the width of the board is 50 because if you take a regular slotted container or regular slotted shipper, it gives the dust flap width is half of your width. So 50 is 100 divided by 2 is 50. 50 plus 5 plus 150 plus 5 plus 50. So 150 is the height, so total 260. Now the board area in the square meter, we have this multiplied it, divided by 10 to the power 6. So it is coming as 0.17 meter square. Please do these calculations at your own. I will not calculate it here. The same way, if I calculate now, go to the ply wise, I have 5-ply, 150 GSM. So the first ply 150 into the meter square, that is 0.17, is giving the weight of the paper is 25.74
Created with
gram.
free version for
The second
non-commercial
ply,
use.
which is having a B flute, which is having a B fluted take-up factor is 1.32, and that's why it is the weight is coming 33.98 gram. And this is the way I am calculating the other plies also. If I take the rate of the paper as 24 rupees per kg, then 24 into 20, I have multiplying this factor with the 24 rupees, and I'm getting the entire cost as 3.48. After this, I am having a staple pin cost, which is 0.05 per pin, and 2 into 2, that is 4 pins into 0.05. This you please calculate based on the heights, how many pins are coming over there. I think it will be more than that, maybe 3 pins will come, but just check 3, if 3, then 6 pin
Created
will
with
be
free
there.
version for
Total cost
non-commercial
will
use.
be 2 into 2 into 0.05, which is 20 paisa. Wastage of shipper in the market is 3%, which we generally give to this in market. When we calculate the wastage, we have to add the board cost plus the staple pin cost, and then 3% of that, which is coming into 11 paisa. Conversion cost we give rupees 6 per kg. If you are giving profit margin separately, then the conversion cost comes nearly 6 to 7 rupees per kg. And then if I'm my board weight is board weight is coming 145.17 gram. So I'm just converting it. Sorry, there is a 6 rupees has to be there. It's a mistake. So 6 divided by 1,000. So that can come 0.88 or sorry 85 or 84 something. And the profit margin is 10%, which is on the total
Created
cost
with free
of
version for
board cost
non-commercial
plus
use.
pin cost plus wastage plus conversion cost. On this total, we have to put the profit, which we generally take as 10%, and the total cost is getting defined by adding the entire with the profit. This is the cost of corrugated box and corrugated board costing. Now we will do a material-wise costing for the rigid plastic that we have to take some assumptions. So let us do a costing of a big cap, costing of 8-gram cap from a 16 cavity mold with the cycle time of 18 seconds and yearly requirements of about 1.5 crore. The mold cost is in rupees 1 crore, which will be amortized in 5-year production. The cap is in yellow color and the master batch percentage
Created with
is
free version
4%.
for non-commercial use.
Now this, whatever I have discussed, I have mentioned here, these all things has to be crystal clear to individual packaging technologists, that what are the weight of the cap, how much cavity you should have. This is the cavity will be based upon the requirement of the cap per year in the production, that way, and the cycle time. These all things has to be calculated, and then the cavity has to be decided. You people have to decide how many cavities mold has to be developed. So you people have to ask the company how much requirement they have yearly, and then you have to divide that, and also you have to ask the mold maker what is the cycle time of a particular cap drawing. So these are the important things you should ask your mold makers before you are going for a cavity design, or you are going to tell them how much cavity mold you need to develop. So now we have
Created
taken
with
an
free version
assumption
for
here that
non-commercial use.
let's take an assumption that the resin cost is 100 rupees and master batch cost is 600 rupees per kg, and conversion cost is 700 per shift, 7,000 per shift. Now conversion cost, I told you earlier also what conversion comes into. So if a machine is running 24 hours, that means 3 shifts, then it is 21,000 per shift per day cost of the machines. Now we will just note down individual parts, whatever we have discussed just now, that is cap weight, then master batch percentage, then cycle time, then mold cavity, then number of mold. Maybe sometimes you need 2 molds because of huge output, because requirement by the companies. Then mold cost, that already I have mentioned, 1 crore. Then mold amortizations in a 5-year, working hour per day 22, then
Created with free
working day
version
per
for
month is
non-commercial use.
26, because 4 days holidays, 4 Sundays, taking assumptions. Please note, and working day in a year is 26 into 12 is 312 I have taken, but you should note that generally the manufacturer take 300 days as a working days. Now the cap output per hour per cavity is 3600 divided by 18-second cycle time, so 200. Then cap output per hour per mold is 200 into 16, which is 3200. Then output per day is 22, which is 70,000. So a mold is giving per day 70,400 numbers output. In a month, it gives 18 lakh 30,000 output. The mold output in a year is 2 crores 19 lakhs and 64,000. Now there is a point called mold
Created with
efficiency.
free version
This
for
point
non-commercial
you have
use.
to ask your supplier when you are going to run the first time the mold. You have to run for 5 days, and you will come to know what is the mold efficiency, which means this is a calculated output could be to per day is 70,400, but what is the actual output is coming out, that is called mold efficiency. So here I have taken 85% is my mold efficiency, which means my yearly output is not 2 crore 19 lakh, it is 1 crore 86 lakhs numbers. Now I am going to do the calculations where the weight of the master batch first I have to decide. The weight of the master batch is 4% here written. So 4% of 8 gram is 0.32 gram. And the weight of the resin will be 8 gram minus 0.32 gram. Please note that the weight of the cap, whatever you are weighing it, is the total inclusive of color. So you should not add
Created with
additional
free
master
version for
batch weight
non-commercial
in this.
use.
Master batch weight will always be included in the weight of the cap. So here we have divided the weight of the resin as well as weight of the master batch, and now we can do the calculation of the cost of the master batch, because we know 600 rupees per kg. So the master batch cost is coming as 19 paisa, and the cost of the resin, if it is 100 rupees per kg, it is coming as 76 paisa or 77 paisa. Now my conversion cost is 7,000 into output. Sorry, I have taken 4 hour here. You can calculate with 3 shifts because should be 3 shifts. So if I maybe 28,000 output, if we take as a whole day output cost, then 28,000 divided by 70,400 is giving you 30.397 per cap conversion cost. So you can see that the conversion cost is around 50% of your material cost, and it generally
Created
happens
with free
in the
version for
market
non-commercial
value.
use.
In market, when you go for actual conversion cost calculation and the bottle and cap calculations for the region material, you will see 50 to 60% conversion they are asking as a conversion cost of raw material. Now we will add the packing cost. Packing cost is again a negotiable cost where you have to discuss with your package with your vendor what is the cost of the shipper, what is the cost of the poly bag they are putting inside, and then you can decide. So I have taken an assumption, say 10 paisa per cap, and then the profit margin is coming into whole into 10%, which is 0.14, and the total cost is giving as 1.62 rupees per cap. This is giving a cap cost entirely if the mold cost is not getting amortized. Now, if I have to amortize my mold cost, then I have to, I know that per year my output is 1.5 crore my company needs. So 1.5 crore and 5 years of mold
Created with
amortization.
free version for
So
non-commercial
1.5
use.
crore into 5, that is 7.5, I think. Yeah, 7.5 crore. So 1 crore cost divided by 7.5 crore is equal to 0.13, that is 13 paisa per cap I have to pay for 5 years. This is the area where you have to keep the tracking. What is the year-on-year output? If the output goes up because of efficiency is going up, maybe if mold efficiency has gone into 95%, then your more cost will go down. Or maybe if your cycle time is going down by say from 18 to 15 or 16 or even 1 second, it impacts a lot. Your mold output will be more and your cost will go down. Even if your business says no, we are going to increase the volume by next year, say double, so then your mold amortization will be going further down in 5 years. So the total
Created
cost
with free
here in
version for
this
non-commercial
calculation
use.
has come into 1.6 plus 0.13 is equal to 1.73 rupees. So this is the way you have to prepare an Excel from yourself, and whenever decisions you are going to make, first of all you have to prepare this Excel, prepare these calculation sheets, and then start your workings. For making the Excels, you can take these calculations and then put the formula. It is better to do that because number of activities you are going to do, and don't do repetitions of a job. Make a table form and then start doing the calculation based on that form. So here with the point of negotiations are inventory carrying cost. That is always a supplier says that I'm going to keep raw material for you, please pay me. There is a negotiation comes. Cost calculation period, that sometimes supplier says that I want to do every month costing of raw material based costing, or
Created
some
with free
supplier says
version for
I will do the
non-commercial
costing
use.
for in every 3 months. Some supplier says I will do the costing in every 6 months. It is purely based on how better you can negotiate. Also volume based price, if you have a very huge volume, you can always obviously ask the supplier about price rebate because you're giving more business to them. And interest charge on the mold cost, if supplier is paying, suppose this 1 crore mold, the supplier has paid 1 crore. Here also we have calculated the supplier has paid 1 crore, and we are just dividing it by 5, which is not actually the case. Supplier will come back to you and ask 12% interest based on the market value interest on the mold cost year on year, and then this calculation has to be made. So this is a critical part, which is a part of point of negotiations, and we do a very tough negotiations in these cases and try to minimize this value so that we can maximize our savings margin. Now we
Created
are going
with
to
free
talk
version
about
for
laminate
non-commercial
costing.
use.
A laminate, I'm going to show here a 3-ply laminate cost, how we are going to do the cost. So the structure is PET 12 micron, met PET 12 micron, and poly 63 micron. So generally, I told you again, this is not 63 micron. It may be a gauge, maybe 150, 140 gauge poly, which I have converted into 63 micron. And if anybody doesn't know how to calculate gauge to micron, please Google. Go to Google Baba. You can get help from there. So then the thickness you can calculate. See, I have calculated thickness into their density. Met PET generally has their density similar to PET, which is 1.4. So the both the weights GSMs are coming same, 16.8. Poly is GSM is 57. Then the material contribution we have. Material contribution means the you have to add the below points
Created
also.
with free
The
version for
first point
non-commercial
is
use.
solvent base. What is the solvent base? How much GSM is the solvent base? How much GSM is the solvent less? And what is the regular ink? Please understand, solvent base and solvent less is actually the solvent and the solid. So an adhesive, when you make a solvent-based adhesive, you need a thinner and an adhesive. So the thinner is also requires some GSM, and which will be evaporated, but it will come into the cost of your laminate, and that is required. So that's why we have made this type of costing. So my total GSM here coming as a 98.16 GSM, and the material contribution we have done here is say 0.17 kg, that is 16 GSM divided by 98.16 is equal to 0.17 kg in 1 kg material,
Created with
0.17
free version
kg,
for
and then
non-commercial use.
16.18 into divided by 98.16 is equal to sorry, because this is also giving 0.17. The rate of the weight of poly is 590 gram. The weight of solvent is 20 gram. The weight of solvent which is hard solid adhesive is 20 gram, and then ink is 30 gram ink is required. So this is the way the calculations has been given. It is a formula which I have done. So the GSM divided by total GSM is going to give you rate per kg. Rate of individual materials are also mentioned here, rate per kg, that is 120, 150. These are all assumptions I have taken. You have to ask the supplier about the rates, and then you have to put here, and then per kg individual rate has come to the extreme right. The wastage here
Created
I
with
have
free
kept
version for
10%. This is
non-commercial
again
use.
because of 3-ply, it is coming 10%. When it will be 5-ply or 4-ply, then it will come as a 12%, and it will increase on one, and this is again a part where the negotiation has to work. The conversion 40 kg, it is also has increased a lot. People are asking 50, 60 rupees per kg, even 70 rupees per kg. Also, laminators ask about as a conversion cost per kg, and the profit they keep as a 10%. So this entire cost we have added and come into a fixed cost as a total cost, which is 220 rupees 0.66 as a entire cost. Please keep in mind once again, here the part of negotiation is wastage, conversion, and profit. These three parts are waste negotiation part, where you people have to talk to your procurement team in your company and do this negotiation with your suppliers.
Created with free version for
Doing
non-commercial use.
individually like this way, on the left side, whatever discussion I have done with you, this is only for 3-ply laminate. Now doing every time this type of calculation quite difficult, so you can make this type of chart with you, where you will have all the packaging materials. You see, you have met pet, 12 micron, 10 micron, met pet 12 micron, hollow pet, natural poly, white opaque poly. All the materials has been mentioned here. Thickness has been mentioned here. Grammage has, you have to decide. You will come to know based on their density. So if you this is a format 1, then you can have a format 2 beside. So you can have say 3-ply laminate in place of format 1, and then format 2 you can have a 4-ply laminate. Then the calculation will change and the total will be changing. Like this way, you people have to maintain your own formats to do the costings of any for the laminate packaging materials. I will go to the cartons.
Created with free
The
version for
cartons,
non-commercial use.
How much time we have, Ayush? Can we increase the time by 10 minutes more?
Yes, sir.
Hi, sir. We are having time, 50 minutes
Okay,
more.
fine.
We can extend it.
Okay, so the cartons, the carton I have taken at the initial in the processing. I told let us go back to the processing where I told you this point where single process and yeah, continuous operation costing and specific order costing, right? Yeah, I have explained you. In case of plastic caps, I mentioned where I have given you a continuous processing costing. Here, this is a continuous processing cost, and in carton, I am giving single order cost. So say 1,50,000 carton I require, and this is my requirement that from a
Created
supplier,
with free
and
version for
I have to do
non-commercial
a
use.
costing of this. So the details are, I know that the supplier board size is 30 inch by 24 inch. You should know the standard board sizes from the suppliers. What are the standard board sizes available from your supplier? And once you are developing a carton design, you should send that design to a supplier and ask them how much it will get fitted into one board size. So this number of ups will come into this area. Maybe supplier told you 20 cartons will come into one seat. So then you can change it to 20. Now you can also ask about board size, and you can put the board size in here, and then the GSM of the board you people are deciding. So I have decided I will need a 285 GSM board carton for my product, and the board rate is currently maybe 68 rupees per kg. Okay, and
Created
number
with
of
free
colors
version for
I'm going to
non-commercial use.
use as a 6 color, and machine printable sheet is 1. That means one sheet at a time is going inside a printing machine. There are machines available where 2 sheets can print simultaneously side by side. Then it will come 2. So it is depending on the machine how bigger. So in general, Indian machines and in general the printing, we see that it is a single machines, a single plate printable machine sheet only required or getting used in India. Plate making cost per color and processing cost per color. These are the points which a supplier will tell you. It may be taken assumption, say 250 rupees is the processing cost, and plate making cost per color is 250. This you can talk to the plate making makers, or you can talk to the supplier. You can go there check their invoices, what the cost they are buying the plates, and then you can put this per plate cost here inside.
Created with free
And the
version for
making cost, you
non-commercial
can
use.
put another 20% or 30% of the plate cost as a making charges, and then plate making cost. Anybody is telling something?
No, sir, please continue.
Yeah.
That might be some.
Printing cost per color, that is also a cost what supplier tells you, that is 150 rupees generally I gave to the suppliers, and now very tough time is going on, people are asking for increasing it. And foil stamping, varnishing cost, all these costs are there, but in my carton I don't need coin reactive printing or laminations, so I have kept all zero. I need varnishing, obviously aqua varnishing, so I have put 20 paisa per square inch. This is coming in a square inch. And punching sheet per 1,000 is 300 rupees. Pasting cost per 1,000 carton is 260 rupees. Sorting and packing cost 25 rupees.
Created with free version
Interest,
for
I am not
non-commercial
giving any
use.
interest currently. Credit period is 60 days, which means I am paying the customer or supplier in 60 days time. Now, this is a chart which I have to make first before I do the calculation. Then the second chart is coming is total printable sheet. So if my per sheet output is 16, then my total printable sheet coming is 1,50,000 divided by 16, which is maybe 9,400 something. But I have taken 150 sheet extra because when this printing sheet gets cut, then there are wastages happen. So this wastage I am giving them as some part of wastage. So I am giving 150. It might be 1% of the wastage. So that I have given them. Of the total sheet, I have given as a wastage. Then number of sheet per kg. So if I
Created with
this is
free
another
version for
calculation.
non-commercial use.
So here you have to see what is the inches. So I have calculated inches to millimeter, and then the weight GSM, and I have calculated this as a 7 per sheet. Number of sheet per kg is 7.24 sheets. Now please go through these calculations and do it your own. This is exact calculations I have done. It is very easy to do. People should know maths very well here. Rate per sheet, 60 rupees divided by, sorry, the mistake, I have taken 68. So you can take 68 divided by 7.24. So this will give you the rate per sheet. And then I have kept a negotiation with my supplier that if you make 3,000 sheets printing, I will give you 15% of the wastage cost. If there is a sheet printing between 3,000 and 5,000 sheets, I will give 10%. And if it is greater than 5,000 sheets, then I'll give 5% as a wastage. Now my total printable sheet is 9,525. So it is more than 5,000. So I will consider 5% wastage. Now the paper cost I have calculated 9,525 into this is 9.38 is actually the cost of rate per sheet into 1, which is 89,000. So 89,000 is my paper cost for the total job. Then processing cost is 250 into 6 color, because my processing cost here written as rate per color is 250 and my job is 6 color. So 1,500. Plate making cost also 1,500 into 600, because my printing cost per color 6 color into how many sheets I have done,
Created
and
with free
divided by
version for non-commercial
3,000,
use.
because printing per color unit you have to see there is also per 1,000. So I have defined the color as and cost as 8,572. The same way varnish cost, punching cost, pasting cost, and sorting packing cost has been calculated, and I have added the total, and I got the total cost as 1,60,871. The wastage, as I told you from the above, I have taken 5%. So on this I have added 5%, and then I have total cost is 1,60,871 plus 8,043, which is 1,68,915. And then I'm adding margin as a 10% and giving them total as 1,85,807. So per cost per 1,000 carton is this total cost of the job divided
Created
by
with free version for
1.5 lakh
non-commercial use.
into 1,000, that is 1.2 rupees per carton is the cost of the carton. So please go through these calculations very, very carefully and try to do these calculations at your own. You can have a better cost. You can do much more better than me when you will sit with the supplier and you can discuss with them. Now the last costing model I am going to do is coax tube costing for 50 diameter tube, 5 layer, where the tube sleeve weight is 10 gram and shoulder weight is 3.5 gram and the cap weight is 9.6 gram. The tube is having inner and outer master batch also, and master batch also master batch present in the cap. So there are colors in the cap and also in the tube. So this is a coax tube costing. In the coax tube, you have to divide the parts total part into 3. One is
Created
sleeve,
with
one
free
is
version
shoulder,
for
another
non-commercial
is
use.
cap. So in the sleeve, these are the layers generally comes into the coax tube sleeves, tubes, and these layers will come down or can be gone up also when you discuss with your supplier what are the specifications you are going to mention. So if I have a LD mix layer as the first layer and as the last layer, and then master batch, generally the percentage comes as a 11% LDP and 25% LLDP, and you can take this way as a general understanding. So these are the percentage I have kept. Sorry. As a standard, you can follow this for the market when you are going to use this type of tube structure. Generally, coax tubes are having this type of structure with EVOH. And the normal weight of the cap I have calculated
Created with free version
from
for non-commercial
nominal
use.
weight from the 11% means how much in a 10 gram. I have just percentage into 10 gram is the calculated weight of the individual layers, and then I get the raw material cost as 89 kg, 80 kg, LDP, LLDP, master batch cost is 500. So like this way, all this cost, if you get from market, you can easily do the costing of the tubes, and then you get the sleeve cost. Then the solder cost will come. Solder is simply raw material, and in this tube I have taken no master batch solder, which is a translucent or transparent solder. So in that case 100% raw material I have used, and which is LDPE. So LLDP, I have used LLDP shoulder, so where it is 3.5 gram shoulder. This shoulder weight you have to do by cutting the doing the benchmarking and cutting the areas and do
Created
the calculations
with free
and all.
version for
So
non-commercial
the
use.
shoulder weight has come to 28 paisa, whereas PP cap, I will not mention this we have already discussed how the cap manufacturing happens and how the cap costing has to be done. So from there you can take it up and do the calculations in the master batch and cap cost. Now in the right side you can see sleeve cost, shoulder cost and cap cost. Now the printing cost comes. If you do screen printing, offset printing, flexo printing, there are a lot of type of printing happens on the co-extruded tubes, and there are multiple permutation combinations people do based on the marketing requirement, and then you will come up with, so printing cost I have kept 30. That is an area of negotiations again. How much cost of the ink, how much type of ink, how if you put a screen printing more, your cost will go up per printing per tube. If you are doing dry offset printing, then the cost goes down. packing cost is there, then the total contribution here you
Created
can
with free
see
version for
at the rate
non-commercial use.
60%, because this is also a area, or this is also a business where the supplier asks around 50 to 60% of the cost of their raw material cost as a conversion cost or contribution cost, and that includes their profit margin. You can see here I have not kept any profit margin, because all the cap vendors, so co-extruded vendors, they generally put their profit margins inside the contributions. So whenever they are talking about contributions, please keep in mind that 10% is included into that contributions. So this is the total cost of the tube. So this is my entire presentations. Now, if anybody have any questions, you are open to ask me.
Created with
This is Rithi Das from IIP Kolkata.
Yeah.
So the questions we have, like, will you please enlighten us about the costing of thermoform material and how can we calculate the per day output of this thermoform material?
Thermoformed tray you are talking about, or
Yeah,
thermoformed what?
thermoform shoot tray or bowl.
Thermoformed tray or board is also, you can see, thermoformed machine cost is very less. So generally when we talk about any blister output, and it generally depends on how much dimension of your material is having. So if you are having a big thermoform tray, then the cost becomes, the conversion cost becomes high. But in general, the thermoform cost of the material if I talk about percentage of contributions, because you have a raw material as a PVC sheet or PET sheet, right? So that is your role, and you have to first make it out that what is the GSM of this film, and then you have to convert it into a weight, and then you have to take the cost of the material from your supplier, that is the rate of the PET film, what is the cost per kg, and then you have to weigh the film first. When the supplier is going to give you the first sample, which is a mock-up, or which is a plain, they have to give a sample from a wooden mock-up, wooden mold, and that tray you have to weigh, and weigh it, what is the weight of the material, that is the weight you have to calculate as a raw material weight and raw material cost. Now, once you are getting the raw material cost, you can add up to 30% on the raw material cost as a contribution, and then give, there is no need to give further profit to the supplier, because 30% is good enough. Sometimes the supplier asks about profit, where we can give 10% if the supplier is really having a big setup.
Okay, sir. Thank you. The next question is, when specifying craft paper, what should we use? BA for RCT, and why? Like, what is the reason behind choosing BA for RCT?
Uh, Whenever you are going to specify the craft paper, you have to specify the BF, that is burst factor of the material, and not the RCT, because in the industry, when the craft papers are generally get sold based on the burst factor, because you can calculate the bursting strength from burst factor, right? So,
Yes, sir.
so when you have bursting strength, when you get the craft paper, there are you do the incoming, means the vendor who are the craft paper or corrugated board manufacturer, they do the incoming material testing, and they do the testing of bursting strength, because that is the very easy part to do rather than doing the ring crust test. So ring crust test value doesn't come. I can say it is not universally come true, and the ring crust machine, whatever you are having, it doesn't give any, I can say that digital figure in a way that the way bursting strength test are giving. So when, and the industrial practice is, when when a craft paper is getting bought by a corrugated vendor, they first do the check of bursting strength. So if they have a burst factor, it is easy for them to calculate the bursting strength of the paper. So in the market, whenever the craft paper manufacturer sells the craft paper, they sell based on GSM GSM and burst factor.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the next question is for calculation of irregular shaped boxes. Should the total area be considered as the envelope or the area that has just to be cut?
No, that is, I told you at the beginning when the measurement topic, I told that never ever do the calculations only the cut area. You have to make it as a whole area, because that part is going to be wasted. Once, if you are confident that another box can be set in a reverse way on that wasted area, then only you can consider at a cut area. Otherwise, it has to be considered as a rectangular or square area of the box as a board. So this is very, very, please keep in mind, this is the area where generally the gap happens between the supplier and the packaging technologists, that we say that this is the cut area, so this is my cost. In general, it should not be. There are wastage happened, so that wastage has to be calculated.
Okay, sir. Sir, can you enlighten us about the coin reactive printing?
Coin reactive printing generally is it is actually a feature which is in a market. It is called overt feature, I think. So which is a tamper proof feature, where the specific area in a carton is printed as a white area, and you can only scratch that with a coin and you can get a text over there inside that area. So generally, whenever you bought, if you fly, if you fly, you will get a ticket from the flight attendant, and then you have to you do a coin reactive scratch it, and then win a gift that comes. So this is a special type of ink which has a very less adherence on the board. So in that case, there is a word first the board has to be varnished, and then the ink has to be put over there. So there are two processing happens in case of coin reactive ink. In the coin reactive ink process, the first you have to print the board, then you have to varnish the board, and after that you have to put the coin reactive ink over the carton. So coin reactive ink is a special ink which has a special cost also, because this ink has a very less adherence capability, so it gets scratched off.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And sir, is there any effect of grain direction in board purchasing?
Board purchasing, yes, obviously. Grain direction, always you have to understand your carton should have a grain direction across the length. Okay, so you cannot have a carton with a grain direction on a vertically. That will it is generally it's not possible, because your printing will not be possible. So it is not your area to think about. It is a supplier will come back to you and will correct you, because supplier will not be able to print it, because if they print in a different way, that means if they print in a cross directions, then they will get their board will curl when they will put it in after printing. So that's why grain direction is very, very important for printing of a carton, and also to increase the strength of a carton. But it is a supplier's headache, not yours. Don't worry.
Okay, sir. And how to calculate the costing of foam like EPE foam or EPS foam?
EP foam or EPS foam gets calculated based on weights. That is also based on weight, and it is very highly costly materials. And frankly speaking, I have not come across EP in a too much way, but I have come across in some of my pharma companies earlier, where I used to take expanded polyethylene foam cartons, or that is boxes, which I used to take. And that time It was coming, first of all, seller used to say it comes in a weight, but later on it has been, I have seen that it comes in a number. So the value is quite high, and I don't have the costing right now with me. Sorry, in that case, I don't have the costing. I can get this costing and give it to you if you require.
Okay, sir. So we have 3 or 4 more questions. We can mail it to you and you can answer them.
Okay, no problem. Or you can ask me also if you have time.
Um, Ayush sir, Ajay sir.
Yeah,
Ajay this said. Yes, you can
Uh,
ask questions.
you can ask.
okay. How do we decide the number of mold cavities? Like,
I already told you. Suppose your company you have developed a cap. Okay, the moment you have developed a cap, or you have fixed finalized a design, what will you do? You will send it to this design to your supplier or to your mold maker to make a design, 3D design they will make, or you can give to your CAD drawing designer. They will make a design of the cap, and then you have to send that cap design to your mold maker.
okay,
Once you give that to your mold maker, by looking into the cap design, your mold maker will give you an estimation of cycle time. So to manufacture that cap, how much second it will require. Now, if the mold maker suppose told you that it will require 20 seconds to manufacture one cap from a mold, and for minimum 4 cavity mold or 8 cavity mold is required, suppose they have told you, then you have to calculate that way. So that, okay, 4 cavity, 360, 300, 3600 into 22 divided by 20, how much per day is output, and per month output, per annum output. So you have to calculate in that way. Okay, so you suppose 1 cavity is giving per annum output is 1 lakh, and your requirement is 14 lakhs. So you need minimum 16 cavity, because as I told you, there is a efficiency has to be calculated. So you cannot keep cut to cut cavity based on your company's requirement. Always keep around 30% high, because your efficiency count will make the output down. So whenever you will decide the cavity, you have to make per day output, per month output from 1 cavity, and then calculate your company's requirement, how much requirement is there for a year, and based on that you have to multiply. So go through my calculations, you will easily find out the calculation way.
okay, sir. Sir, where do we get the prices of raw materials like plastic granules?
There are Reliance site are available where Reliance declare their prices every month, and you can get that your company wherever you will join. There is an access has to be taken from Reliance, and then Reliance give their prices, models, and values every month. They declare that, and from that site, their factory wise, like they have Hajira factory, they have their in Gujarat also they have factories. So all these factories, they have their price charts, and that chart generally vendor also follows, and we also follow. So user and converter, everybody follows the same chart as a rate. And with that rate, it generally added the transportation cost as 1 or 2 rupees per kg, or if it is nearby, or if it is far, then they add 5-10 rupees per kg as a transportation cost.
Okay, sir. One last question. The costing model is designed theoretically. So while the actual run of the model,
Hmm.
do we see some variation even after consideration of excess parameters?
No, see, the whatever the costing model is running, correct, you are talking, it is theoretical, and in books, whatever you have gone through, those are very theoretical. Today I have whatever I have told you and I have shown you, you can see the same type of thing in the companies, because these are all very practical based. Now in case of shipper, if you see the staple pin I discussed about, in the shipper this will not come, then the supplier will put everything in the cost of conversion, like I told you 6 rupees per kg, then they could have told 6.5 rupees per kg or something. So in that case, maybe in very some things like only staple pin will be the separate part. Other than this, all the parts are very, very recent and practical. So for me, whatever the costing model I have discussed with you team, and these are all the practical costing models. So these are not theoretical costing models.
Okay, sir. Um, so there are some more questions as well. How do we calculate the costing of wooden container and pallets?
Pallets and wooden containers calculations, generally, if it depends on Euro pallets, what fumigations you are doing, it is not easy to calculate wooden container and pallet costings in such a way. It depends on the how much quantity you are buying, and it is a very I can say the market rate are not very, very varying. It is very common and very nominal rates in the market variance. So you can get the same rates. Pallet and wooden costing we generally don't do in such a way. We do it in a negotiation. So pallet and wooden containers doesn't come into the packaging area to do the calculations. It is a procurement buy. It is not a packaging buy for the company.
Okay, sir.